And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm super jazzed to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about a topic which, if you're an entrepreneur, you're building a business, a personal brand, a thought leadership platform, this is going to serve you very well, especially if you're using social media to get out the word. Now, for a little bit of context, I believe social media is one of the most powerful resources out there for a new business, entrepreneur, thought leadership, personal brand, all that. I think it is this untapped gold mine that we all have the ability. If you're listening to this podcast, you have internet, you have access to devices that would enable you to go onto social media and use these platforms for free, right? Like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. These are free platforms with incredible distribution power. And so when you're first starting your business, when you're first, starting your personal brand, the thing that we all have to overcome is obscurity. Is the fact that you might have the best product in the world, but if your customers don't know it, then you can't serve them. You can't do business with them. And so the first thing that we all have to figure out is, how do we overcome obscurity? And for me, my personal journey on this front began a couple of years ago when I exited escape climbing, like the day-to-day activities there. And I went to start this new endeavor, which was Invictus Capital. And what I realized as I made that transition, before I had exited a number of businesses, and then I had gone and started like another product business. And that's a very different world from what I was getting into with Invictus, which was, we're raising capital, private capital for our real estate deals, which meant that in a very real way, what people are buying into is me as the person, as the operator, as the team capable of running the assets, right? And so I went from selling products to now more or less a service. And what I realized as I made that jump was that in years past and businesses prior, I had built them in a way where I was behind the scenes. I wasn't the face of the company. We tried really hard to build the brands to be standalone brands that weren't tied to a person. And this was great for those companies, but very bad for me in a personal sense, which meant that as I would move from project to project, it was like starting all over again, right? Like I had to get the flywheel going, because maybe people who knew me at escape climbing and in the rock climbing industry, they knew me well there because I'd been in it for a number of years and we had built this business. But then as I transitioned to real estate, nobody knew who I was, right? And it was the same like before that with window washing and other things. It's just like you have this reputation, but for me, I kept leaving that reputation behind as I would start new projects. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to build up my personal brand, my thought leadership platform, so that people know who I am largely in what I do, entrepreneurship, real estate investing, mindset, hyperfocus, all that stuff, so that I can leverage that personal brand when I leave one endeavor for the next. Okay, so that makes the flywheels already going. Now I just need to pivot it and turn it in a particular direction. So I got really serious about using social media, I would say in about 2020. That's when I started putting out regular content across all the different platforms. And then in the last year, in 2022, is when we really ramped it up. And, we started going hard at Twitter in particular and YouTube. And now here we are in 2023 with this podcast, right? And so it's been this constant evolution and growing. And one of the things is I get a lot of feedback from people recently, which is like they see this kind of like growth trajectory where it seems like everything's growing really fast. Like our Twitter's taking off, our YouTube is blowing up, all that. And it makes it look like it just kind of came out of nowhere. And so it can be really hard to see that there was like years of building up to get to that inflection point. A lot of content that just went out into the void and nobody ever saw, nobody ever resonated with enough to even leave a comment or anything like that. And so often by the time you see that one hit wonder or like that overnight success rather, like they've already put in the 10 years of hard work behind it, right? And so that's one thing. But two is, if you do want to leverage social media to build your thought leadership platform or, make your business more profitable, the thing that I see most people completely getting wrong on this is they're not being social on social media, which is like really silly to have to even say this. Like, as I say it, I'm like, oh, this is really dumb. You guys are probably going to think like, obviously. But here's the thing. It's like, how many people do you see where they'll make a post, they'll shoot a video, they'll put it out there, and then they won't respond to any of the comments. Like, people will have questions, they'll leave feedback, they'll say nice things in the comments, but nobody, like, you're not responding to anybody. And so you go through the comments and you're like, oh, really? What this feels like is like you decided to throw a dinner party and you invited all your friends over and you made this beautiful meal and you spent all this time, and the meal is like the video or the post or whatever. And then you go and you throw it down on the table, you give it to everybody, and then you disappear into the basement for the evening. You don't even sit around to see them enjoy it or hear what they had to say, if they liked it or didn't like it. You don't stay for the conversation. So you're using social media not to be social, but you're using it as a megahorn to yell at people and say, like, here's my message, buy my thing, look at me, look how awesome I am. And you're completely missing the fact that, like, your goal isn't just to necessarily be known by everybody. It's to build like meaningful relationships that can be transitioned into, if you're in the context of a business, into like a customer relationship. And I find that the people who struggle to grow on social media, they're just fundamentally doing this wrong. They're putting out content and then they're just piecing out. And this came to mind recently because somebody commented on one of my YouTube videos, and then somebody else commented on a Twitter post because they had noticed this too, was they're like, you respond to literally every single comment. And I was like, I try to, and across all the different platforms on any given day, I probably get a couple hundred comments. Now I'm not, and I respond to all of them, but I'm not like leaving like really deep, thoughtful comments and replies to everybody, but I am trying to make everybody be seen, trying to let them know that I hear them and I see them and I appreciate them. And it just goes a really long way for deepening the trust, the relationship with your audience. And so if you want to grow on social media, like, be social. I don't know how else to put it. It's that simple. If you're currently one of those people who's just dropping the content and then not going back in to engage with people, like, you're leaving all the opportunity on the table. And so I hope that serves you guys. I hope that's a new framework. And I hear people in the background. I hear you screaming like, I just don't have the time. Like, how, like, responding to a couple hundred comments a day, like, that takes time. I get it. It takes time. I try to gamify it, like with everything, with all my tasks. I try to give myself a time limit. I try to get through them as quickly as possible. I've tried to systematize it so that I know exactly how to get through them with shortcuts and key strokes as quickly as possible. But at the end of the day, you just got to put in the work, right? Like, it's, if you want to be elected president, you got to show up in Iowa and shake some hands and kiss some babies, or, shake some babies and kiss some hands, whatever you want to do. Like, it all can work, but you got to show up and you got to be social. So that's the takeaway. If you want to grow your business, your personal brand, your thought leadership platform more quickly, if you want to get traction on social media, start being social, people. Start engaging. And with that, if you're listening to this, I would love to hear from you. Let's be social. Reach out to me on any of the platforms. Really, DM me, shoot me a message, share the content with somebody that you think would get some value out of this. Tag me in it. I will almost certainly hop in and say thank you. I'll comment. I'll be there. And I just want you guys to know I appreciate you. So, yeah, that's all I got. As always, guys and gals, stay hyper focused, and I'll see you in the next episode.